I'm here today with Donal Kelleher and Jasmine Soori-Arachi, who are the founders of Quantum Mogul and Quantum Stellium and Quantum Empire. So I'm really thrilled that you guys are here with me today because in the year or so that I've known you, you have absolutely skyrocketed, I think, beyond all expectations. And that's what you do. And I would love to hear more about your background of sort of exceeding what anybody thinks is possible. Donal, I know that you've have a personal journey about that. Maybe you could share a little with the audience.
Yes, thank you, Tracy. It's a pleasure to be on with you, and it has been a pleasure working with you as well for the past year or so. Yeah, we get I get asked that question. We both get asked that question now a lot. To see what does it take to hit a target and exceed a target. And like for me, it's something that goes back over 30 years. It's something that I learned over 30 years ago now. It was how to set goals and how to set meaningful goals. One's not just a dream, right? Just you write down something that was specific. And most importantly of all, you put a deadline in it. You put a date on it. This was very new to me because I had heard about goal setting before that. I never wrote them down, but I certainly never heard of a date being put on them. And of course, it made total sense. So I was very, very new to all this at the time because I came from a very simple background. My background, right? I'm Irish, as anyone can understand from listening to my accent. I came from a farming background. I had no interest in farming. All I ever wanted to be was a truck driver. I became a truck driver. I loved that. And by fluke, I got into property when I was only in my early 20s. This was way back in the mid and late 80s. And I heard about goal setting. Then I got into financial services then in the early 90s. And I heard about goal setting somewhere around 1992 for the first time. And then in 1994, I was really shown how to set a goal with a date in it. And that changed my life, really, because after about 2 years of doing that consistently, I saw that I was hitting an awful lot more stuff that I had in my head, with more of a professional approach, really, and also exceeding some of the goals. I didn't hit all of the goals. I fell short on some of them, but then I exceeded some of them. So I could see that it was working. And I got better and better and better at writing the goals and better at executing them. And if there ever was any secret to a success, I would say, is write meaningful goals and have a deadline them, have a date on them. Don't beat yourself up if you don't hit them. You won't hit them all, that's for sure. But just keep going, reevaluate, see, is it the same goal you still want? If it is, write it again, put another deadline on it. And then I got into 5-year goals, which really rocketed everything, because the 5-year goal, you have to write something that is just physically you can't physically comprehend it in your head. So you have to go way outside of your comfort zone. And then you work your way back from that. That was what really changed me. I started doing that really at the beginning of the century. So I've been about 25 years doing that. And I think I'm on my 5th 5-year goal now. So if there was one thing for me, that would be it,
What do you think is the magic in writing the goal down and having the date set to it? Because there's something very powerful about it. What can you say about that? Why do you think it works?
I really don't know what the science is behind it. I have asked some people that, studies psychology and stuff, but they have told me that there is a physical thing that happens when you physically write something down. There's something that happens it goes to your brain, right? It just goes into your subconscious. It's much more powerful than just saying it or talking about it. The physical act of writing it down and then putting a date on it gets a sense of urgency into you. And when you get used to doing it, you mightn't notice it the first time you do it for the first maybe 6 or 12 months, but definitely after the second and third year that you do it, you'll notice yourself getting very, if you're missing the goal, if you're not hitting it, without even looking at the sheet of paper at all that you wrote it on, you'll feel yourself getting very anxious, and grouchy and kind of like an emergency feeling on, and you're wondering what it is. And what it is, and it took me a while to figure out what that was, but I was told that I must be missing my goal. And what happened is I wasn't revisiting my goals often enough. I wrote them
Okay.
down at the beginning of the year, and I wasn't revisiting them often enough. And every time I revisited the page that I wrote them on, I saw I was off. I was off by about 30, 40, 50 days. And that's why I was getting anxious, because my body was telling me, you are going too slow. You should be doing more. Stop wasting time. Stop procrastinating. Stop doing other things to make it look busy. Stop filling the gaps with rubbishy things. Do what you are supposed to be doing, which is income producing activities, which is either selling a product or a service, because that's all that the world has. It's a product or a service. You either have one or the other, or maybe you have the two of them, right? But so we're all selling something if we're working for ourselves. So it is either a product or a service. And if you have a goal and a deadline to do that, and you start weaning off and doing other things, your subconscious kicks in and says, no, you're not supposed to be doing it. And that's my only explanation that I can have for the success for it. But it does work. And I've seen it for other people too.
And we have a really personal example of this because Donal has used this method to create his first million. He's used it to create just under $1 billion in property, and he's used this method to create a $1.2 billion energy sale. He came to me when he was off track on his big next goal. And then we found that missing link, and I think this can be helpful to people who are using the goal setting method, but are still not seeing the result in the timeline that they want to see. And that's really why we combine forces, both in business and in life, to really bring our larger vision to the world of helping extraordinary visionaries accelerate their impact and create a multi-generational life and legacy they're wildly in love with. You need that piece also of acceleration. And so, yes, you have to be in contact with that goal regularly, but you also need to be energetically aligned with your goal. So yes, you must be doing the actions, but you have to bring the full force of your will behind it. And you have to be energetically aligned with what you're doing. And so one of the things when Donal came to coach with me that really helped accelerate the timeline of his next really large goal was looking into what did he really value now? Because what you valued at the time you achieved the former goals had actually shifted, hadn't it? And you had found yourself off track on the goal.
Well, that's what will happen with goal setting. It expands you as a person. There is no way that if you are consistently writing goals for over 30 years, but even if you're writing them for 5, 10 years, there is no way you will be the same person as you were 10 years before that. There is just simply no way, because it's just whatever it is about this drive that a lot of people have a mission, and a lot of people have ambitions and goals and dreams, and they say they want to do this and that and the other thing. That's okay. But the best way that I can describe that thinking is that if the goal setting is not there with it, it's like a missile without the guidance chips. It's just all over the place. It doesn't know where to go, and it will never hit anywhere close to its destination. So the guidance chip is the goal. And it's very hard to imagine then that if you do this religiously every day, and that you have 5-year goals and work their way back to the 1 year and 1 month and 1 day, so your whole life becomes a goal setting business. It's impossible to imagine that you are going to stay the same person each year. You're going to grow. You won't notice yourself growing, but when you look back, you'll say, oh my God, did I actually walk that far? Did I actually go that far? And then you start taking it more serious. You say, if I was more serious with my goals, I would have gone further. And some people, when they hear, they say to me, well, when is enough and enough? It's not about enough. It's not about anything except having a purpose in life, right? It's not about having enough. I never cared about the money. It never bothered me. I knew it was a byproduct. I've lost, I'd say, more money than I have made in my life. But the goal setting, the money is a byproduct of your success, whatever success that is. I don't look at myself more or less successful than anybody. I just know goal setting works, and I just couldn't live without it now. And I know I'm not anywhere remotely the same person as I was 32, 33 years ago when I started writing them first,
And that's why when you came to me, when you were so off track, it wasn't that you hadn't written your goal down. Wasn't that you hadn't written the date down, but it was really that what Donal valued and what he wanted to share with the world and what really lit him up had really shifted.
Yeah.
The underlying motivation had changed. So this is for everybody out there who's employing the system, but still coming up against any kind of energetic resistance. Ask yourself the following questions. Do I still want this goal? Why do I want this goal? Why is this important to me? What is my driving force? What gets me out of bed in the morning to achieve this goal? And when we helped Donal really distill who he wanted to become, and that's kind of what I specialize in within Quantum Mogul, as in addition to what Donal is doing, is helping our clients understand what their most expanded life and impact on a planetary scale gets to look and feel like in detail. So they can already draw on those elements now to do the scary things, to do the things you don't want to do to achieve your goal, to do the things that might seem routine and boring even to achieve your goal, because if you were the person who had already achieved the goal, you would have already done those things. So connecting to that energy, that expansion, and that joy continuously will help you during the moments when it feels like you are off track with your goal. So those are things that we've really combined into our Mogul leverage method, using this goal setting system to help extraordinary visionaries be able to, what we say, collapse the timeline of milestone achievement.
We'll be back with Jasmine Soori-Arachi and Donal Kelleher of Quantum Mogul after this short break. This concept of combining time with goal setting is truly intriguing, and it makes a perfect opportunity for me to talk a bit about the archetypal patterns that get activated in striving for something beyond what you think is possible. Donal touched on that when he said that the 5-year goal has to be something really in the stratosphere. It has to feel at least a bit impossible, or it'll become boring. This is what my clients talk about. Even though it might look on the outside like they're succeeding at a very high level, there's a kind of predictability to success that can make it boring. And nobody will ever feel fulfilled by being bored. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or an industry magnate with a yacht and a private jet. If you're not standing on the edge of what's possible, you're not walking a path of life fulfillment. Donal said the physical act of writing a goal down takes it into a different realm in terms of how likely it is that you'll accomplish it. Why is that? Well, in archetypal terms, anything physical and material belongs to a channel of consciousness where the powerless delusional end is called the victim, and the powerful awakened end is called the warrior. The victim secretly feels that things are too hard, so he doesn't try or gives up easily, while the warrior has the stamina and willpower and puts those in service of your vision. Your vision is your goal, and vision is a function of the sovereign archetype, who says, this is where I'm leading us, and we will achieve this no matter what it takes. It's the archetypal pattern of authority, decisiveness, and taking responsibility for actually doing whatever it takes, even if it's the warrior's job ultimately in this model to create the structure and assemble the resources that are actually needed to do it. This is in contrast to the child archetype, which is the other end of the sovereign channel, who just wants something, but puts it out to the universe, so to speak, and doesn't have the commitment to doing the hard or boring things that are required to get it. All of this sovereign activity is actually in service of your values, your why. You have to be connected to why any of this matters to you. And indeed, that can and will change over time. The vision might even stay the same, but it will be grounded in different values or priorities. And those values and priorities are the domain of the lover archetype. He's the one who assigns values to things. Notice that I didn't say recognizes the value of things. The lover decides what has value for you, and it assigns your own worthiness as well. If you're in prostitute energy at the other end, the other pole of that channel, you'll run up against an invisible limit related to your self-worth somewhere along the way. So you might feel worthy of running a large company, but do you feel worthy of being an important philanthropist or a political leader or a Nobel Prize winner? If your lover thought patterns and belief systems are not activated, you will block your own goals at whatever level they take you that's outside the limit of your prostitute archetypal thinking. So that then brings us to the element of time. We've seen why the goals have to be written down. That's to engage your warrior in the required fulfillment activities and to invite your sovereign to supply a decisiveness around the terms of the goal and taking it out of dreamland into something that's actually supposed to happen. We've seen that the goal has to have value for you according to your lover's assignment of what really matters. And now we can talk about time. Where does time come into the archetypal picture? Time brings us to the fourth and final archetype, the magician. There's no way that your logical mind can process the idea that time is just a construct, because you have to be out of the realm of logic to be able to see that. But suffice it to say that anything can actually be accomplished in any amount of time. You know this from your own experience. If you give yourself all morning to get something done, you will use up every bit of time that you have. But if you know you only have 20 minutes, you will laser focus on it, shut out all the distractions, call in the inspiration, call in a time-saving perspective or solution to a problem, jump over 3 or 4 unnecessary steps, let go of perfectionism, which, by the way, is one of the hallmarks of the saboteur counterpart of magician thinking, and you will get it done in the allotted amount of time. When you keep looking at your goal and the time that you've allotted, you're opening yourself to the possibility that things can happen in any amount of time, especially because nothing about how you've ever done it in the past has to apply to how you do it now or in the future. Past experience does not have to be relevant to the future. You get to decide what's relevant. So acceleration belongs to the magician archetype. And physically writing your goal makes your sovereign commit to realizing it, and it gets your warrior on board with tools and a plan. And the guidance chip of this vision is alignment with your values, the domain of the lover. If you're interested in learning more about how to activate these archetypes to collapse time and accelerate your goal achievement, and ultimately to expand your potential again and again, my alchemical blends are coded to fire up these patterns and bring you there faster than anything on earth. Visit tracypoisner.com to learn how to work with me privately or to train in space-time alchemy and help others achieve the impossible as well. Now back to my guests, Jasmine Soori-Arachi and Donal Kelleher of Quantum Mogul. Donal, you said something earlier about that the 5-year goal needs to be somehow unimaginable to you. Otherwise, it's just going to be boring, right? Is there ever a moment where you think, I must be crazy? Why am I still thinking about this goal? Like,
Oh no,
there's no way I'm going to do this.
no, I never think I'm crazy for it, because I take my inspiration from other people that have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not alone in huge goals. I don't know, do they operate them the exact same way as I do? I'm sure they do. I have not spoken to them personally. But I think like one of the people that I admire a lot is Richard Branson, for the journey he has taken in his life. And I was reading something, I think it was only just this morning, about him, that he was told once, right, to take the road that was best known. And he said, I could not have done more opposite. Right? And I could totally understand what he was saying, because I could see this is why I admire him, because he has taken on things that he hadn't a clue about. And he has got the people around him that did know it, right? Now, like there's things
He's
that
an ultimate broker.
he's an ultimate broker, yes. And there's like, I'm talking like we are, the name of our business is Quantum Mogul. I mean, I knew nothing about quantum. There's so many things. Like I got into the property business. I was a truck driver. I mean, I knew nothing about business or property. I didn't know anything about the cost of anything. I really didn't have a clue. I got into the financial services business and I knew less about that. So there was training involved in it and all that. But it's a challenge right now. In them days, in the very early days, I wasn't writing the goals. So right from the insurance onwards, in 1992 onwards, I was writing goals. And 1994, I really knew what they meant. So there's 30 years of it now of knowing what it meant. So no, I from once I saw that I exceeded some of the goals that I know I would never have reached or anywhere close to it if I hadn't written them in the first place, I got really excited. Then think, let's have some fun with this. Let's write down something off the charts, right? And see, can it be done in 60 months? And it can, and I have hit parts of it. I've missed parts of it, but there is no way on earth that somebody that finished school at 14 years old would be as far as where they are today if they hadn't written these goals. There is just no way, because I didn't know anything about anything that I started until I did it, and I learned it as I went. And I was always able to sell, which I didn't know I could do either until I was launched into the insurance business by fluke as well, about 32 or 33 years ago. But I was so excited by knowing, right, that all I have to do is speak to 2 or 3 people that knows what they're doing. I know how to package it and sell it for them, and they can be the experts. And this is another step to my goal. And in the meantime, I will teach them goal setting. And if they want to take it on board, yes. And a lot of them didn't, but that's okay. That's okay.
It's what we get to do now in Quantum Mogul. And that brings us to another part of the Mogul Leverage method, which is amazing how this conversation has turned. And that's really billionaire brokering. So billionaire brokering isn't just for billionaires. It is ways in which Donal and Richard Branson, as just explained, have achieved extraordinary things. But everybody can take this by having commitment to that goal, by following that 4-step method, and then by looking for what we call leveraged partnerships, right? I'm an international quantum strategist, and in Quantum Stellium, we have a partner who is an amazing quantum physicist, a PhD quantum physicist, and a neuroscientist. So that's just a clear example for the audience of a leveraged partnership where each one of the 3 of us actually brings our expertise to the table, but our partnership is much larger than just the sum of its separate parts. And through leveraged partnerships, it's just another tool to collapse time, as it were, and bring the realization of your goal to you even more quickly. There's something energetically that happens, which means when you're looking to connect people with their solutions, when you're looking to connect, supply and demand, you are actually opening to the universe to say, I'm a vessel for dream fulfillment for other people, which is an extraordinary fairy godmother type of feeling in a sense. It might seem very transactional. Peter wants A and Mary wants B, and I'm putting them together. But being in the flow of giving and receiving makes you extremely magnetic to the flow of wealth and abundance as well, right? Because money is moving all the time. Currency is moving all the time. And when you are giving and receiving in this way of sharing, with people and connecting them to their solutions, that's billionaire brokering, in operation that anybody can do. And also to remember that manifestation is delivered through us and to us by other people. So getting curious outside of our own silos, our own bubbles, our own ideas of how this goal is going to be realized can absolutely collapse the time to its achievement, because it's, as you say, you don't put anyone on a pedestal.
Yeah. Well,
this is a beautiful teaching as well.
From once you don't put anybody on a pedestal, and from once that money is not the goal, right? If the only thing you're writing goals for is to have a lot of money, to impress people you don't like, then it is just forget about writing the goal, because
we can consider that wealth.
because that's not going to last, right? Because you'll make all the wrong investments. You'll do all the wrong things. You'll just do all the wrong things because you're trying to impress. You're trying to show off, right, to people what you have done. So, and putting people on a pedestal is another thing, right? Making fish of one person and flesh of another is a complete waste of time, because it doesn't matter what. If somebody has something more to offer than another person, then that's okay. But they shouldn't be made better or worse. There isn't a silver, gold, or bronze medal award here. They're human beings that has something to offer. And in the journey of brokering, and in the journey of when you're achieving a goal that's out there in the stratosphere, you need all these people. Everyone has something to offer, and it's your job to see it, to absolutely see that, and work on their strength and show them how their gift is small or as big as it is. It doesn't matter. There shouldn't be any judgment on it. Will make a difference in this journey and make them feel important about it. That's the true secret of goal setting and goal achievement. And that's why you will reach the stars with it, because it's not about owning the stuff. It's about creating the stuff, because it's just a journey. It's not a destination, and you can take it with you anyway. So to put a proper structure around it that can be perpetual, and this is why we do so much work in not just wealth creation, but wealth preservation as well, because wealth preservation is going to be there a lot longer than the creation, because we're going to be dead a lot longer than we are alive. And so what we have done for preservation and succession is, to me, more important than creation. But of course, we have to create it to preserve it.
And this is how we're pretty disruptive in this space, because we really begin from legacy. We really go deeply into not only how you desire to be remembered, but what has really mattered for you, right? Like if you looked at the very end of your life and you rewinded and saw everything that happened, how would you want to be remembered? What is the impact you would have loved to have created? And more importantly, what would you want to have experienced and felt most of the time? Because what we do as a habit, what we think as a habit, what we feel habitually defines who we become. So we can absolutely shortcut that legacy process from the very beginning by allowing ourselves with beginner's mind to explore, well, if everything was available for me in terms of my legacy, what I could create, who I could become, what I could experience, who I could impact, what would I choose? We are afraid of our infinite power. We are not afraid actually of limitation. We're afraid of this incredible, enormous amount of choice we have actually to determine our highest destinies and to impact the planet for good. It's almost overwhelming for people. So when we start with that very personal, what do you want to feel daily? What do you want to create daily? And then do that from the legacy perspective, from what you want to have created, that amazing bridge from the future into the now. And of course, in the quantum, they're all happening simultaneously. Time is streaming simultaneously, but it's literally right there for the taking. So defining your legacy is just like writing that goal down.
That's
It
exactly what I was about to
determines-
say. That's the goal setting.
And your work is so extraordinary because, with botanical alchemy, you're helping people access their highest potential, right? And that highest potential can be used in so many ways, but because, our alignment and the resonance between Quantum Mogul and what you do with botanical alchemy is so strong, because you also speak to multi-generational legacy. You speak to the importance of not just healing, but joyous relational bonds between families and between generations that go on for generations and generations. So working from this perspective of legacy and then combining those practical tools of goal achievement really helps your clients who work with you, also achieve this amazing fullness of potential, the fulfillment of their, goes way beyond high performance, which you do. It's
Absolutely.
really their largest spiritual and evolutionary potential on the planet. And that's why we're really thrilled not only to mentor you, but, to be in your network, because we see you as a huge change maker and thought leader in this space, helping people have sovereignty over their own legacy experience.
Thank you so much for that. It's always inspiring for me to listen to you talk. You're so passionate and articulate. And really, I would love to have you guys back with your partner, Benjamin Del Sol, who can really speak to the quantum piece of the Quantum Mogul empire. I know that he's part of your Quantum Stellium advisory. So it would be fascinating to go deep into a little bit more about quantum science, which really everybody needs to be interested in now, because that's the way we're going. So thank you so much for being here.
And that would be lovely to do that. And it would be a perfect example to show people that, like a year and a half ago, I knew nothing about quantum except the word. I hadn't a clue what it meant. So this is a classic example of what we were just talking about. So when we will come back on with Benjamin, you will see he is an expert in what he's talking about. And I just sit and listen and learn. And the amount of stuff that I have learned about quantum in the last year and a half is enormous. And I feel blessed that I met up with Jasmine, first of all, that was working in it first, and then the many people that we have been introduced to since,
and have interviewed,
and Bob Dameron, and of course, Benjamin to partner with us was brilliant, and that we can now bring this to the world. That proves that any goal outside of your imagination can work, because you bring these people, you attract these people to you that can do that.
Fantastic. But thank you once again for being here. This was a real thrill for me. And I look forward to a future podcast together with Benjamin Del Sol. And thanks again for all of your expertise and for everything that you're doing to help people on their own limitless journey.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy.
Limitless is produced by Neil Haley, with music by Danny Columbi. I'm Tracy Poisner. If you're an innovator, a business leader, or a high performer with deep curiosity about the uncharted reaches of your own potential, visit tracypoisner.com for an accelerated pathway toward unimagined achievements and legacy milestones. I'll look forward to meeting you.